Hey guys! So this is a new series I'm working on, inspired by Pro Jared's videos where he talks about stories of his D&D campaigns. I suppose EXP to level 3 had done this as well, so I thought I'd share some of my D&D stories because I've got 7 years worth of experience, give or take. So the first story I thought I'd share is a story about 2 friends of mine. Now, these 2 friends, Jack and Nathan, both partners, they'd never played Dungeons and Dragons before, and I kind of, somehow, I don't know how, roped them into giving it a go. After character creation, Nathan had created a human fighter known as Othello. He went down the Eldritch Knight practice because he went spells too. And Jack played Glaedra, the blue dragonborn storm sorcerer. So I talked to them about the introductions, helped them out by letting them roleplay with each other because obviously they both never played before. Nathan was a little nervous, but we soon snapped him into roleplaying. And our heroes, Othello and Glaedra, headed to a town called Be Well. They headed into Be Well, and everyone, and I mean everyone, was just delighted. Just so happy, constantly smiling everywhere they went. The guards didn't even question them when they came in. I believe they actually may have said like, halt, why aren't you smiling? This is a very happy place. They discovered the history behind this town. It was a hero known as Be Well, and he had slain a troll which had been antagonizing villagers to the point where it destroyed their homes. So what they did was they built a new village or a new town around Be Well's death, where he died. He basically killed the troll, and the troll delivered one final kill to him. So both the troll and Be Well had died. So what they did was they built a crypt underground of this town and buried Be Well's corpse underneath there, including the troll as well in a separate one, as like a kind of reminder of what Be Well had slain. So that's the background of this town. There's a crypt underground. From the centre of the village is a ginormous white tree with autumnal leaves, like dying leaves. But I described to the players that it was summer, so why has it got dead leaves? And in front of the tree is a well. So heroes were walking around. They've got a few things that they have to question. Why are the leaves dying when it's summer? What is the story behind Be Well? Why is everyone so happy? You know, they've got a few questions. They then went into the library to look for some books on the history and what have you, where they found someone who wasn't smiling. And it was a drow reading a book. So they get talking to this drow, and they find out that there is in fact a crypt underground, and that may hold the answers as to why everyone's behaving so weirdly. So Glaedra, the drow, and Othello do some more reading, and they discover that there is in fact a trapdoor right next to the tree. The only thing is, the crypt is forbidden to everyone, so they've got to cause some kind of distraction to try and get into the crypts. So Glaedra casts Mage Hand and makes like a spectral hand float in the air, and basically says to everyone, "Look everyone, look at the hand!" And everyone just goes, "Wow, that is amazing!" Like, over-exaggerated happiness, just so happy to see a floating hand in the sky, whilst Othello and Glaedra slip down into the trapdoor, leaving the drow in the village with everyone else. So down our heroes descend into the underground chasms of Be Well. It's not a very, it's very damp, very miserable down here. Looks like no one's really been down here in ages. And as they walk down there, I describe the place. It's damp, it's miserable, it's wet, damp walls. There's moss covering the walls and everything. And as I say that, Nathan goes, "Can I take some of the moss?" Yeah, sure, why not? Do you want to roll me a d6 to see how much moss you get? I think he rolled something stupid like a 5 or a 6, and I was like, right, you collect a lot of moss. There's a lot of moss that you can carry with you. So he ends up with this big like container full of moss. I said that he'd have a container because he came from home, so he would have a container. So he had a container full of moss. Very important to this point of the story. As they're walking down this corridor, they do find crypts of Be Well and the troll. I think the first place they go in, they actually go into the troll's crypt first, and they find that the troll has been reanimated, like as like a skeletal thing. So battle happens. This is their first time fighting in D&D as well, so I basically said just go wild, be creative, I reward creativity in my games. And Othello was just saying, Nathan was saying all these amazing things that Othello does, and I was just like, yeah, let's go with that. I believe at one point he cut the troll's legs off because he just ran in, skidded, and with his 2 swords he just cut through the legs and the whole body just collapsed, knocking it prone. I was like, I'm rewarding that. But after the grisly fight, they went into Bewell's tomb. As they walked in, Othello stood on a trap. Throughout the walls, loads of like darts just pierced into Othello, and I think it dealt something stupid like 3d8s or something like that, 3d8 piercing damage. And I think I rolled for damage and I got like 8, 7, 8. Bear in mind they're all level 1 characters, so I believe that I think I rolled to the point where it left Othello on like 1 or 2 HP. And we were like, oh my god, you know, you should really, this is one rule you need to do, man, you need to check for traps in these sort of places. And Nathan said, don't worry, I've got the moss. I'm like, what do you mean? He was like, well, can I use the moss to heal my wounds, like clean my wounds? I was like, roll me medicine? Nat 20. Nat 20 of rubbing moss into your wounds to try and heal them. He's got like 18 different darts sticking into him. All 18 cured because he rubbed moss into his wounds. From that point on, ladies and gentlemen, everywhere we went, Glaedra and Othello made sure that they packed plenty of moss. It became a natural running gag in the campaign. I believe Othello tamed a hellhound and he called him Moss. Glaedra went through a library and was looking for some particular books, and then he rolled a nat 20 on that, so I said, yeah, you find the book you're looking for, but you also find 101 uses for moss. So they had that as well, and it was a very fun campaign. There'll be plenty more stories from that campaign, I'm sure. I believe we've got one coming up. But yeah, moss as a healing item. Good times. Good times.